Okay.
What's up, everybody? We're back with another just beautiful, fun day in the apocalypse. I'm Kennedy, Brandon's here, and we also have a couple of friends of the show hanging out with us today, kicking it. We're gonna rock out just whatever topics come to mind, have a good time. Salem Snow, first of all, thank you for joining us. Former congressional candidate in Philly, and just generally cool guy, spicy takes on Twitter. We love you. Thanks for being on the show today, Salem. Say hi and introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, yeah. First off, thank you so much for having me. My name is Salem Snow. I'm an activist and organizer based out of Philadelphia. I just finished a run for Congress in Pennsylvania's 2nd Congressional District. And recently I've just been working with a lot of nonprofits and local groups trying to get some relief during these rough times.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Aaron, aka Poseidus Trap God on Twitter. Aaron, we have been looking forward to collaborating with you for a long time, trying to set this. Actually, both of y'all really have been people that we've been wanting to set up collabs with for a long time. So this is kind of a fun day on a lot of levels. But Aaron, we're so stoked to have you here with us. Please say hi to everybody. Introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Thanks for having me on. Know some of y'all personally, and it's been a long time coming to come on the show and talk to you guys. So I'm just excited to be here.
What the fuck did you do? Because the last time we met, this was pre-COVID. We were just hanging out for a quick minute at one of the general meetings. And the next time that I see you, it's oh, Aaron took over the cop game, right? He got 50K. And I'm like, what the hell? and then I literally asked somebody, what the hell did he do on Twitter? And it's yeah, he just started reply guying.
Yeah, dude.
Out of nowhere. So okay, so you tell us what happened. How did you go from a no name to the big name? What happened?
A lot of depression, a lot of waiting, a lot of feelings of inadequacy and not contributing. Dude, I had a Twitter for a minute, and I guess when this new primary season, everything, especially the primaries, which is how everything starts, right? How it started in 2016. This is how this whole leftist mediascape started. And I just started reply guy, following all of my favorite podcasters and just getting really high or, having a beer or six, man. And I was just dude, this makes me laugh. So let me just reply and, and people liked it.
There's an industry. Actually, I'm going to give you a hard question right off the bat. And this shit just came to me. So it's a cottage industry of white people that like it when Negroes say shit that they really can't say. Everybody knows.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Where do you feel the line is for you personally between I'm saying this shit everybody knows and times where you feel you say some wild shit and then you look at the likes bar, because that shit happens to me and I'm getting 80% white people liking this and I'm okay, I guess.
Well, that's why
how do you navigate that shit?
Well, that's why, man. I think once you get to a certain point, because everybody wants to be kind of liked, right? And I think being black in this leftist mediascape, it's just the uncontroversial fact that you're gonna have to deal with a lot of white people, right? And I'm not saying about being a people pleaser, but also wanting to create opportunities for yourself while also understanding that you have a unique identity that you have to defend on the grounds that this motherfucker's never gonna understand where I'm coming from, Right. And I got to it. First of all, if I could, I don't know, because I use the word nigga a lot.
You can do it. You can say whatever the fuck you want. The only people that might ban us are Twitch, and we decided a month ago we don't give a shit about Twitch. If you are a Twitch or watching it, we hate you.
You've been okay with this for a long time.
Yeah.
All right,
don't give a fuck.
Cool.
Most of our views are on Periscope. It's whatever.
It's about making people. One, I get to a certain point where enough people are kind of following me where I feel yo, I can say whatever the fuck I want to say, and I don't give a fuck if I lose 100 followers, right? I don't give a shit, right? But then it also is I like to make people feel, especially white people, feel uncomfortable in certain situations, right? So if my tweet has the word nigga in it, I'm gonna almost you might be agreeing with me, but at the same time you have to be oh shit, this is
white.
Can I say that?
I on this.
I did a post that was about Van Jones, and it was from fucking Dragon Ball Z, and it was Frieza going, I'd expect nothing less from that monkey. And like, I know that people watch that shit because the view count was real high on it, but it didn't get the likes. And people were like, I don't know if I want to tag myself with this one.
Oh, you just made me spit out my beer, man, all over my computer. Holy shit. Oh, man, dude.
I want to ask Salem on a related note. Salem, you ran for Congress, and a lot of people, once you are able to finish a political run, it's like Twitter sort of opens up a little bit because you're like, all right, well, now that that's over, I guess I can post what I really feel. You've been kind of going through some of that because it certainly seems like it from seeing your feed.
Yes, your feed is a very liberated feed. Let's put it. You're like, I'm free.
Oh man. So like the whole political world in general is pretty much like, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, don't say this word, don't say that word. Like I remember one of my first speeches, somebody was like, "Oh, don't say the word poor," and I was like, "But I'm poor." Like, like what do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that in my ear, like while I was running. So like I was trying to like hold my tongue half the time, which didn't work, half the time as it was because I just say what I think. But yeah, after the run was over, I was like, oh man, fuck all these people. Like, I'm just gonna say fuck them, like, cause fuck them, like. So I don't know. It's a very liberating feeling though, like going from slightly unhinged to like no door. So
yeah. It's like being every time I post, like I'm just born again, I'm just like, dude, I'm just like seven winds ripped through my open chest, and I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, like this is living, But no, go ahead.
Since somebody used the word unhinged, can we jump right into yay and come back? Because I feel like there will never be a smoother segue.
Oh yeah.
Just talking about unhinged, no doors.
I want to get into this.
So yay running for president. He says he's running for he didn't file no paperwork, but he's just like, I'll just do it.
He's Kanye. That's what he does, man. He just does it.
Yeah.
I don't. You see the newest article that came out today? I think.
Yeah, the Forbes article. He's wilding out.
There's some kind of mysterious vice presidential candidate that's already been chosen, that's in the wings, that's planning some of this shit. I think if we find out who that person is, it's either going to make a lot more or a lot less sense.
None of it makes sense already. It's just, man.
It's a preacher from Wyoming, and I guess he ran into her doing setting up the ranch and shit for the Ye album, and she's on one too. So I don't know whether, I guess that's how they meshed, because he started talking crazy and she started talking crazy back. But
that's what everyone's looking for, is somebody.
I wasn't expecting him to have a white VP, considering his only platform is, I'm gonna make Wakanda real. It's okay. I'm just I was surprised.
Dude, I have tried to avoid this shit, as Kanye exists not almost like Trump does, right? Like not as a person in my mind, just as a character. So I just have tried okay, he's running for president. I don't even need to read his platform because I have content for days, because it's just insane. So so wait, hold up. He wants to make Wakanda real?
That's basically his only when they started asking him what are you gonna do about Department of Defense, foreign policy, he was like, I'm gonna be real with you, I don't know anything about it. But then when they were like, well, what is your vision? And he was like, I don't really love Black Panther. I don't want to make it sound like I'm obsessed with Black Panther, but Wakanda is really what I'm going for in terms of what I'm going to be doing as the president.
Fuck Wakanda, bro. You have all of this technology, and you've been hoarding it for centuries with Black people. Killmonger did nothing wrong, bro. He's a class hero, straight up. What are you talking about, bro? Fuck Wakanda, dude.
I think Killmonger, they could have asked him to do 20% less. But in comic book movies, whenever the bad guy is in the right, they have to have a genocide plan at the end to make the shit simplified. Because if y'all remember Dark Knight Rises, if you're watching Bane, he's tearing shit up. The police lied to you. They're corrupt, and we're gonna tear their shit up in this fucking terrible society. Yeah, that all sounds good. So they have to make him like a genocidal monster
Yeah.
in order for the shit to even make sense.
Yeah, he's an
With
agent
Magneto or Dr. Freeze or just any comic book villain that's in the right.
Yeah, they're always the villain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Nah, man.
Anything that's changed has to be like, we got to have the status quo. But anyway, yeah, his vision was like he's going to walk around the lab and there will be innovators, like when T'Challa was walking through the lab. I found a way to cure cancer. And Ye's like, good. Like, that's his plan. Elon Musk will be like, we made a car that goes to space. And he'll be like, all right, make those.
Secretary of Transportation right there, man. Elon Musk.
Right, but that's also his approach to fucking music. If you know him, like he goes in there and the producers and the writers are like, yo, I made this beat. And he listens to it. He's like, yeah, that's good. And like, I'm not saying he has no talent, because you have to have like an ear for what works and mash shit together. But like, if you know his art process, it's totally based on like other people doing shit.
It can't be translated to politics, man. It can't be translated to something that actually affects people's material lives. Like the fact that we're even having this discussion is fucking insane. Like, yo, like I think it's really telling to the people that like the white libs who on the one hand don't want to criticize him too much because like he's a black dude running for president, even though they know he's batshit, but they also like his music. And then they're also like, okay, but this is like not good for Biden. So eventually, like the liberal racism is gonna win out, and at some point they're gonna be like, all right, we have to put this monkey back in his cage. You know?
Yep. Wow. The yay vote is probably gonna be like the Harambe vote. Like, it's gonna be like 50,000 people will be like, this sounds funny, let's do it. Those people are not like, they don't really give a fuck. Like they just think the shit is funny.
They're not real voters anyway. Like,
yeah, nobody really hoping that Kanye West is gonna save their life. And like,
well, what is a real voter anyway? Like, I mean, like this, y'all ever like, you guys ever watch Black Mirror, man? In that first episode where like it's like, I don't know, spoiler alert, I guess. Like if you haven't fucking seen it, too bad. Like where they fucking make this season of what is the Prime Minister of the UK
that
pig, and it's just basically for artistic value, you know, because it's like the day, whatever. Like this is really, I think, an exercise in like how like circus-like American politics has actually like become.
Yeah.
And among a time of like a triple crisis of like a pandemic, you know, a movement against like racial injustice and like an economy in free fall, and like Kanye, you know, just enters the stage and says he's going to run for president. It's like, are we living in like a simulation, like a mirror, like a weird funhouse reality? You know what I mean? It's insane. You know?
The world been off track since like 2010. It's been totally nonsense for like the last 10 years. It's shit like a Markov chain generator happening. Have you heard the word of our Lord and Savior, Kanye West?
Listen, I want to have everybody else chime in on this. I have a thought that I would like to hear everybody's opinions on, which is that, you know, Kanye originally said back in 2016 that he was considering this. And back in 2016, he was also like a little less batshit, or at least maybe openly batshit or something. Like that was before he like kind of went all the way into like I'm like some kind of evangelical preacher.
Kennedy, I gotta cut you off. I gotta quickly cut you off because this nigga was making a diss record at Nike in 2016. Like that's kind of crazy too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Nike with a track.
Yeah, I didn't say he wasn't. I didn't say he wasn't. But he wasn't. He hadn't yet put on the MAGA hat, right? And done that whole series of stunts. But so back in 2016, Kanye said, I'm probably going to run for president in 2020. And I just want to say, if Kanye had declared like when everyone else declared back in like January, do you think he'd be a real candidate? Because I think he would have been like a real candidate, maybe.
Yeah.
Like a real, like a very serious contender in terms of like, I don't know.
Okay, let me put it like this. If it's January, and the problem with Ye is he don't listen to nobody. But let's say theoretically, Ye is like for the next 10
I meant January 2019. Like he started running when everybody else did, you know?
Right. Okay. January 2019. And the Yeezy team is running his campaign, then yes. If Adidas is in charge of the presidential campaign, and he raised like, I don't know, like $200 million, then yeah, we would be really like talking about it. But he can't control his words. Like that's his whole thing. So in that, I don't know.
But I think that's kind of like the funniest part about this to me in some ways is that like if he had just taken this about 20% more seriously,
Maybe
he would probably have been like Pete Buttigieg, you know, taking Iowa or something random.
Yeah, he
like,
would have.
Man, Salem, can I want to hear your take on this as someone who's like ran for office on this?
So, like, one thing I learned from like running for office and all the people I was around is that like a lot of it is kind of like a popularity contest in American politics. It just is. A lot of people vote based on, you know, like name recognition and shit like that because American voters just don't look into things very often or very deeply. But yeah, I definitely think considering how famous he is, the name recognition alone would make him a serious contender. In addition to any people that he like swayed on top of that, which I think is nuts. But I mean, American voters can often be nuts. So
I don't, you know, I actually disagree with like because I think like even someone like Trump is insane, right? But the way that he was able to commandeer the Republican Party was because he's just been echoing their, you know, value system and their political program with variations on it. Like he did say, "Oh, we're going to give healthcare to everybody. Everyone's going to have great." But they knew that he was just a vehicle, right? Like Kanye is just. I don't even know what other level degree of insane I could say he is in, right? Because it's a spectrum. But he's so unhinged. That's what we started this segment with, right? He's so unhinged that, like, is the Democratic Party really going to go, like, what political coalition in this country of power brokers? I'm not talking about voters. I'm talking about people who actually pull the levers of power, right? In states where states get to decide and run the elections, right? Like state parties. Like, who is going to come to Kanye? Like what Howard Dean like figure, what Neera Tanden like figure, you know what I'm saying? Like, and their surrogates are gonna go to Kanye and accept this shit. And I mean, I don't know what it's not even so much because like, you know, he's like this kind of unhinged black dude, but like what he represents in fracturing the party and like its supposed like values, right? Which like they don't fucking have values, right? They don't believe in anything. So it would just be this really weird campaign. I don't think it would be like anything in American history before where it would just be a circus the whole time. And it would undermine the legitimacy. That's what it would do as well. It would undermine the legitimacy as Trump did, you know, of the whole, you know, electoral process. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it really undermining the legitimacy, or is he just walking through the door that Trump opened? Like, I feel like after Trump was elected, it was kind of like anything goes, guys.
Yeah,
you know, John McAfee can run for president, whatever.
Anything goes unless you're in the pockets of, you know, either faction of the capitalist party, right? Right. Yeah. You could be as insane as you want to fucking be, but if as you're down to like exploit people economically through tax cuts for the rich, and you're, you know, willing to do all this shit, then like, yeah, dude, it doesn't matter if you like fuck goats, you know, it doesn't matter.
I think that like a lot of the politicians who are real grassroots politicians, they are speaking to something that people feel like really deeply in their lives and feel a need for. Like Donald Trump, like say what you want about Trump, but he is speaking to a void that's in people's lives. They feel like a lot of control.
You're canceled for that, man.
Well, whatever, man. Like there was a black president, people wilded out, and they needed to feel like the world was like the old world again, and Trump does that. And Bernie Sanders, people got diabetes and shit. Like we need insulin. Like people going in the paint for Bernie. But like there's nothing about anything that Ye is saying, because Ye is so idiosyncratic that like there's nothing in anything that he's saying that's like, yeah, the fucking mark of the beast. We got to make sure we don't get vaccines because they're gonna try to keep us out of heaven when we get the vaccine for the coronavirus. Like that shit don't have no real meaning to anybody aside from like the crazy dude on like the street corner that's on like a street preacher. But anybody else, no. So that's like important to think about. Yeah, there's other shit, but I'm gonna leave it.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, there's no material like need that he speaks to in America or a demographic because like he's not really like a leftist. He's sort of a weird. Oh no, I don't want to use this word because it'll ruin the podcast all the time when we use this word. But I have to use the word Tulsi Gabbard. Let's quickly move on, basket. But just this idiosyncratic left-wing policy kind of, and right-wing culturally, and everybody's like, people aren't really into that very much. Like that Michael Tracy might endorse Ye, but the rest of people, I don't know.
Yeah.
What do y'all think? Elon Musk has super viable politics that appeal to the majority?
No,
because like that's who's endorsing Ye so far.
Billionaire weirdo. No,
dude. I have
Salem, are you highly swayed by the weirdo billionaires? I'm guessing not.
Not at all.
Aaron, you following all the weirdo billionaires on Twitter and doing everything they say?
Man. Actually, that is one thing that I'm a glut for punishment. So like, I think that like these people are. When I say that these people are unlike us, man, I'm saying that they have an obscene level of wealth that affords them an existence that the majority of human beings on this planet will never have, right? So they're weird as fuck, right? They're really weird, right? And Elon Musk, his timeline is just like fascinating, yo. It's like this real like just exercise into like exploring how depraved like these people's minds are. Yeah. Like this guy, I had this tweet that went like viral, man. This dude is the beneficiary of wealth made during apartheid. Like, when he had that tweet about like 7 things, like this list of 7 things, and one of them was like communism has never worked. It's like, yo, you would be saying that, right? Like you would be saying that about an emancipatory politics that frees people from their labor when like your labor was like made on fucking like mines in fucking Zimbabwe. You know what I'm saying? It's just like so I think that, yeah, man, Secretary of what is he going to be? The head of the Department of Transportation? Yeah, for Kanye. Yeah, that would be the perfect fit, right? Yeah. These two fucking insanely rich people, insanely rich people.
Yeah, definitely.
Murza Kimono, I'm fashionably late for the Yeezy Press collection. Okay. Oh, good Lord. Y'all are trolling. Somebody else, Yay Musk 2020.
Let's go.
Elon Musk was bankrolling this shit. I would take it like 10% more seriously. Yeah. Like just in terms of like getting above Harambe. But I don't know if Ye is gonna beat Harambe, like for real. It's gonna be close.
Could be close.
Yeah. We're not gonna hear about this in like another month, man. I guarantee you.
Yeah, because the album will come out and he'll be like, man, never mind. Like the
album is called like Jesus for President.
Yeah.
And,
like like this dude was on Saturday Night Live dressed up like Aquafina at 2 a.m. Everybody waiting for that album to drop. I ain't forgot Yandi. He already conned us once. I don't know why we are setting up to get conned twice. Let's move on.
I can't believe that anyone remembers that terrible SNL performance you just referenced.
Because he said the album was gonna drop right after.
He did.
I stayed up till 2 a.m. like, okay.
Where's the album?
Yeah, the album did come out.
Everybody's wanting to vote for Kanye for president is gonna have that same problem.
Yeah,
they're not gonna be on any ballots. They're gonna be like at the polls, like, where's Kanye?
Drop the ballot.
I can't even, yo. I can't.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I was gonna say one more thing about Elon Musk though before we completely move on from him, which is that I'm sure y'all probably agree with me. Anyone who has ever owned a mine is just bad, period, right? Like
no human being should be in a mine.
Like entire history of bad people like seems to just revolve around people who own fucking mines. Like
the fact that you had said human beings down like tens to hundreds of feet below the earth in a small cavernous, like it's just like, yeah, you have to be an evil motherfucker to like You know, I'm gonna pay you a living wage to do that. No, the fuck you are, dude. You know, it's insane.
Also, I think you have to be on a real twisted level to justify just exploiting the earth so blatantly and taking it entirely for yourself.
Yeah.
Like that selfishness is wild to me. I don't know. Y'all chime in if you got something, but
yeah, no, I can't think of one cool person who's never owned a mine. That's a good ass point, man. No, I can't think of one.
In all of history, has there ever been a cool mine owner? No.
In all of fictional history, you know, any fictional things read about fucking mines, you know, you don't have the benevolent mine owner. You know what I mean? No, it doesn't.
Y'all think There Will Be Blood? Come on.
Mines are not good. They're not good, folks. No.
I actually wrote a book that has a mine owner in it, and he's kind of a protagonist, but he's very fucked up, and he inherited it. I don't know whether that counts. We'll talk about it in a later time.
So he's like the woke landlord.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about you. You want to talk about Keisha, or you want to talk about who?
I was just gonna say for a second, we did a post. I wanted to know if y'all saw the pictures of Elon Musk's mom that went around the internet.
Cruella de Vil.
Salem, did you see this?
I didn't see this.
Oh, you would have loved this. This was going around Twitter. She literally, if you ask me to like conceptualize evil mine heiress for like a movie, for like a Disney movie, not even something where it's like subtle, but where it's like blatant, it would be his picture. I'm gonna get the picture and get it up on screen for y'all.
I'm working on it too.
Okay,
go ahead.
Right, Brandon's on it.
Yeah, I'm on it.
So like it is literally like these people are beyond parody at this point. It feels like a lot of 2020 is just beyond parody. I don't know. I think everything that we're talking about is kind of in that realm. Like this like half-assed Kanye presidential run is just like on the long list of things that like if we had been writing sketches for SNL in 2011, they would have been like, nah.
Here is this lady. This is Elon Musk's mom. Look like a comic book character.
That is just hardened evil. Like it's like crystallized like evil, man. Like that's insane.
Okay, all right. Check this out. I found fucking Lady Hammerlock from Borderlands. Let's go. It's flip, dog. Is that not fucking really Hammerlock? I've been wilding out ever since I saw that picture.
You should put those side by side, yo, and tweet that, man. That's
that's a good. I can go viral off of that one, but yeah, it's wild. No, that's not the way. Okay.
Yo.
It's just wild. It's just wild. I just wanted to do that because that's like it's like I say, it's beyond parody. How could you even?
Yeah, she walked into the fucking Sephora and was like, "Make me look like a James Bond villain."
Yeah, but like the black rings around the eyes, like it's like, you know, like I don't know, man. I think there are clear markers of evil. You know what I mean? And anyone, yo, like that, yeah.
She looks like Cruella de Vil, yo.
She does look like Cruella de Vil, man.
I've seen dudes with like teardrop tattoos that I was significantly less afraid of. So that
like if I saw her walking down the street at night, I would cross the street.
Cross the street.
Like, I would cross the street.
Let's talk a little bit about this virus. Salem, how is the virus response been in your state? What's it been like?
So I've noticed that politicians around here like to do a lot of the say the right thing and not really do anything like legislatively. There's like a lot of bare minimum response. I mean, recently there's been like a whole thing between the governor and like the state Congress about whether or not like he can keep shit shut down. So that's kind of been like a back and forth. I definitely wouldn't say like it's one of the worst because I mean, you know, there were plenty of governors and stuff that were not trying to shut down or stay shut down at least. Sure. So can't say that like Wolf is doing like the worst job. But I mean, not really a spectacular one either because I mean, that's what most Democrats do, right?
Keisha Lance Bottoms has not. I think she was doing okay in comparison to Brian Kemp, who was like opening the whole state and was just like Trump 2020, boy, let's just do it. So like she closed some things, so we were all giving like, okay, there's something, but like there was no mandation of like hardly anything, and she just got it this weekend, and she doesn't have any symptoms. She's not gonna die or anything, but she of course was on Twitter like, oh, you know, and now the city is taking it more seriously now that the mayor has it, which is is so fucking enraging that dude. The rest of us are like fucking suffering and shit. And now that the mayor has it and has no symptoms, it's like you could have been like on top of this shit the whole time if you had like human empathy or anything. Hey, Salem, have you seen Keisha's mac and cheese?
What?
Kennedy, you talk to Salem for a moment about virus response. I'm going to find something very amazing.
Okay. Yes, sounds very good. So I definitely feel like a lot of people have kind of like pulled it together here at the last minute with like realizing how bad it's actually going to be. I'm curious if you had some of that there where you are, because like here, like our governor has been pretty good overall. But like a few weeks back on the stream, I was concerned because she was kind of talking about this like reopening plan that sounded a little aggressive, considering that I didn't think we'd really been through the worst of it by any means. Right. And now, like a couple days ago, she was like, yeah, so actually we're stalling all of those plans, you know, because Arizona and Texas are on fire. Have you had like any kind of similar thing going on where like your politicians suddenly get it?
Honestly, I don't really think so. At least not that I know of. It's been, I mean, the area I'm in here, like Philly, is pretty democratic. You know, a lot of the people who don't really get things until it happens to them is kind of tends to be a little bit more of a right-wing thing, I would argue.
In much more disturbing news, this is the mayor's macaroni and cheese.
Oh my God.
Is that not the most hideous? We suspected in Atlanta.
Off the side of a road, man. That's disgusting.
That is not mac and cheese.
In Atlanta, we suspected at that point that she was not really for us. Like, no.
That's an impeachable offense, bro.
Okay, so Atlanta has had nothing but black mayors since like the late 70s, early 80s. And so Keisha was running against an independent, Mary Norwood, and you know, she was kind of straddling.
Independent.
Yeah, independent. But like everybody knew she was running from Buckhead. So everybody kind of knew what the deal was going to be. It was going to be like no taxes. However, she almost won. A Republican almost won the city of Atlanta, the blackest city in America, Wakanda. We almost had a white mayor. Y'all talking about Wakanda? Okay. Anyway, Keisha won by like 100 votes in Wakanda, and she like has just vaulted to the top of the fucking political world just by coincidence, like fucking Luigi in Mario Party, just standing still on the ball, and everybody else rolled off. And this is like the first time that she's like been under significant political scrutiny, I would say, and she's not doing great.
Yeah, Keisha, I talked about this on I'm outside, so I hope everyone is the noise bothering you up the street, guys.
No,
okay,
it's all good. It's
all
great.
Right, so like I talked about this with the Trillbillies a little bit about Keisha and flex. Shout out to the Trillbillies. Shout out. Actually, I was about to say subscribe to the Patreon, but you should actually subscribe to Not Safe for Wonks. That's what.
That's right.
But, yeah. No, but seriously though, like I think there's something really interesting about black mayors and the coalitions that they have to build with white liberals, businesses, and the black elite. And Keisha's a really interesting character to me because if a better candidate than Mary Norwood, like because Kasim Greed, right, was like, I think just, I don't want to say universally hated, but I mean like
not universally hated.
Not universally hated, but I mean he was an asshole and a lot of people didn't like him, and they, you know, obviously they have a connection there. So it's like even more than just like business related, supposedly, rumors. But Keisha, I think if Mary Norwood was not such a Amy McGrath type candidate,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she might have actually lost.
Yes.
And Keisha getting COVID, I think as a black mayor, well, contracting it, and having no symptoms, but contracting it as a black mayor of a black city when black people in this country are most adversely affected by COVID, I think is this really kind of ironic. And I don't know, I think even her comments recently, right, about the shooting that happened, I think over the July 4th holiday, or maybe a couple days after, where it was, I think, a 9-year-old girl had gotten shot, and she made a tweet, which is obviously, like, any gun violence is like tragic, right? But she made a quote said something how we are only hurting ourselves, right? Like, we've done more harm to ourselves, and so tone deaf in this moment, like such a lack of leadership from. But you can't really expect more from a black elite, right? That's the whole point that I'm making.
He's trying to be like Obama, like all the black people in 08, like all carry Obama and just let him do whatever. Like if Obama like got on the stage and wagged his finger at the black people, and you've got to raise your kids, like Bill Cosby type shit. Yeah. All the black people like literally took it because they were like, hey, he's trying to get in there. We got to take it. He's doing what he got to do. But like to be doing that in 2020, niggas ain't taking that like we took it in 08. It's a totally different situation politically.
Well, that's why, like, to broaden it out, like, that's why, like, Biden, right? Like, someone like Kamala Harris, or formerly Keisha, maybe, someone like a black face that will look at other black people and temper any sort of animosity that they have towards the system, because black Democrats, which many can be socially conservative, like my mom, for example, right? When this whole movement started, I talk about this often. She sent me a text saying that, she kind of made a 180, right? She knows my views are radical, but she understands like racial injustice in this country, and she understands what I'm talking about, and she supports me, right? And supports the movement. And what you need is these Killer Mikes, and you need like these, Kamala Harrises, and you need all these people, to go out there and control the anger, right, of like the black electorate, which is incredibly powerful and shaping democratic politics. So
Below Girl says they use this political ambient.
Dude, they are political ambient, and it's like, on the one hand, I'm incredibly disappointed to see that from a member of my own community, but then I got to remember the class element, right? Like, she's not a member of my community, right? Like, what really can we expect of Keisha Lance Bottoms in this time? Like, the fucking governor is going to open up the state, and I mean, regardless of what she might believe in about that decision, it's a good business decision, right? Yeah. Or it's a seemingly good business decision.
Yeah.
So like, Keisha,
COVID. You come out here, I get to save my breath. You come out here and start talking, man. I love it. Usually I'm the one that's like, these folks ain't for us, man. So I'm glad I get the
fuck yeah. Oh, that cat is awesome.
What have you got going on?
A hairless cat? I fucking hate cats, but that one's cool.
Yeah. Hold on, Chicken. Give him a. All right, there we go. Sorry. So yeah, that's Chicken.
Chicken, good name, yo. Yeah. Looks like a chicken. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a cutie.
That's exactly why we named him that, because he looks like a chicken.
Salem, I wanted to have you weigh in with me, because I think what Brandon and Aaron are talking about right now is something that we can also relate to as queer people, right? Like,
absolutely.
These mainstream queers come out on TV and they tell us, "Hey, be good, behave yourself. Don't be like the bad gays," right? Like how often do we hear that from our supposed role models?
Oh man, Pete Buttigieg really just makes me want to like fling myself into the ocean, man. Like everything he says, man. He's just always trying to get people to be like overly civil, and like what he did something one time about like the Chick-fil-A thing. Like, the queer community was pissed about, the Chick-fil-A funding the anti-gay organizations, and he wants to come out talking about people being like sanctimonious and like, I don't know, just like undermining like very valid anger. And they absolutely do like use queer people to contain queer anger.
Yeah.
You know, Pete's got a new book out. It's called Trust. I know.
Trust who?
I trust him, I guess.
Trust who?
Trust an
Trust
institution.
Chasten to get his outside of that abusive ass relationship, bro. Fucking okay, dude. Run away, Chasten.
Get out of there. Get out.
Free Chasten, yo. Please get out, dude. That man murders puppies, yo. Like, get out of here. He's psychotic, yo. Man, I mean, like, it's like, I think who posted this? I forgot who it was, but they retweeted, I think it was Lockheed Martin commemorating Pride, and they had like this trans like aircraft engineer or something like that talking about like the opportunities that they've been afforded. And I'm just like, dude, like, yeah, I guess like in 2040 we're gonna be looking at like our first like trans like ex-veteran of the like, you know, the Tehran War, you know what I'm saying? The like, you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna be looking at like
I didn't drop nukes on Iranians abroad so that nukes could be used at home.
right?
Well, I want to stay on the Pete subject for a second, because Salem, did you see when Pete said that like he would have taken a pill that made him not gay if such a thing existed? Did you catch
What?
that?
Yes, he said it during a town hall, and Chasten's face.
Town hall. Yeah,
Yeah.
first of all, Chasten looked like a kicked puppy. Let me just tell you.
The
But
whole
he
thing
literally
was
said-
he was talking about
I want to put it in
his
context, be a little bit fair, but it's fucked up even in context.
Yeah.
But he was basically like, you know, it's there's a lot of struggles with being LGBT, and it was very hard for me as a youth, and blah blah, and all these things are relatively true, right? You know, and he's like, and if there was a pill that could have just made me not be gay, shoot, I probably would have taken it. And then he's like, but then I wouldn't have had the life that I have now or whatever. I was like, I just wanted people to accept me. I didn't want to be a part of that bullshit. You fucking, why are you promoting this idea? Like, I don't want to be accepted into straight culture. Like, fuck that.
what is straight culture anyway? Like
Oh,
Fashion
Marvel isn't.
Marvel movies. That's straight culture. It's fine. And Quiznos, we established that. Quiznos.
On a previous episode.
Yeah.
I don't know, Salem, what do you have any thoughts on any of that? Like, just in terms of like the way, like, I feel like that's just indicative of the way that like people like Pete tell us, you know, like I say, like, oh yeah, get in line. But it's like, we don't want to get in line. We want you to like just let us be.
Yeah, like, and how bad is it that like candidates like Pete can't even like stick up for their own community? Like, how are you gonna try to like use us as your like card? Because let's be serious, Buttigieg, for example, ran on being gay for months while he didn't even have so much of a platform, and he used it as a minority card, be like, hey, I'm the gay Democrat running, like, which is how liberal Democrats use minorities. They use us as political tools or political weapons to further their agendas.
Exactly.
I don't remember why I started ranting about that.
No, continue, please.
No, you were just talking about Pete and Pete's not embracing his identity and things like that.
Oh yeah, so he's like, okay, so first off, like, he's very heteronormative. He's a very palatable gay. Like, he's not flamboyant. He doesn't have anything that's really like telling, which is fine. Like, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But it seems to me that liberal Democrats like to use palatable candidates. For example, like for example, when they run black candidates, they like to run palatably black candidates for white people. Like Obama, for example.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know. I just feel like that you're not really representing your community at all. You're still representing like the capitalist elite. You're representing the upper class, and you're just using minorities to do that.
And that upper class is consistently categorically heteronormative. It's white, it's male, you know, male passing. It's like, I think that what's so incredibly disappointing is that we're kind of seeing a repeat of the 60s, where every nigga who's been fucked over in this country right now is saying like, nah, motherfucker, I got my rights, you know? And the Democratic Party could have a popular platform and actually like govern, yo, with that popular demand, but that presupposes that they want to win, right? Like, they don't want to win, right? Like, the Democratic Party is not an opposition party, right? It's a fucking
Nope.
elite club of failed sons and failed daughters. And what they do is that they co-opt these movements so they can fucking take our votes, so they can like disenfranchise us, right?
Somebody said they treat us like Buffalo Bill treat chicks in Silence of the Lambs. They want to like kill us and cut off our skin and pretend to be us. And I was like, that shit hit hard.
It's
that is the relationship.
And it's where social movements go to die, you know? Like, it's easier to be against something than it is to be for anything at all.
Sure.
I want to quickly draw attention to a Twitch comment. I guess regarding Quiznos, leave my sandwich alone.
Bro, I ain't even gonna lie, y'all gonna hate me, but I ate at the Quiznos like 2 weeks ago. Probably the one of the 3 in Atlanta, I think.
Quick question to the Twitch commenter: are you straight?
Yeah, context is important.
Are you straight? All right, let's see.
Y'all educated me, bro.
We'll wait and come back. But yeah, you tell me about your Quiznos experience. Yeah, I love Quiznos, but I'm straight. So
it was trash. Oh, dude, it's like, yo, it's sometimes, yo, it's just this real like. I don't know. This is a whole different topic, but it's like, can I eat anywhere? Can I buy anything from anywhere?
No.
Do I have to go to the hills of fucking North Georgia and fucking like fashion out a commune and make my own shit? Like, I'll fucking do that if I got y'all niggas with me. You know what I'm saying?
You can go to Slutty Vegan, which apparently still has lines around the corner during the virus. Like,
Jesus,
I don't know how
Stay the fuck home, people. Stay the fuck home.
Stay home. Stay home. Stop it.
Look, there's nothing wrong with eating Quiznos. It's just a part of your culture, you know.
Wait, that comment though. I'm not prejudiced against people who like Quiznos, but I just think they should do it in private.
Same.
It is your American right to consume whatever food you want at home, yo.
I wasn't gonna call them out, but that's our editor, by the way.
Yeah.
Dunking you with that one. Oh. God, but I did want to get on this subject though of like how this, like, to go back just a tiny bit of like how this overlaps between like people like getting in the way of progress, and like how like so many groups that need things are being disenfranchised in this exact way, where like, you know, they lift certain people up and then they say, okay, now your job is to keep everybody else down. And like, so we have these people, you know, from our groups, you know, like Cornell West was talking about how black faces in high places didn't exactly work, and this is what he's talking about, you know what I mean? Like, I was just watching an interview with him where he's talking about this, and like it's like we're seeing this problem with like a lot of oppressed people. And like, Aaron, I think you talking about like a trans person coming out of wars, like we already have some trans veterans. There already are some people that are exactly what you're describing, that have been like, well, I got to serve and it was a positive experience for me because of blah, blah, blah. And I love America. And it's like, America doesn't give a shit about you. Like, but because like you've been through the door and been inside the club, like you feel like it's whatever now. And I just feel like this is like a really big problem that like we are experiencing over and over again. And it definitely feels like at this point, like the Democratic Party is starting to feel like a boxer that's set up to lose fights. Like,
take the dives.
You know, hey, taking another dive this week. All right, you got it, boss. Thanks for the check. You know?
Well, I mean, it's like, dude, again, it's kind of what Cuomo does, right, in New York as governor. Like, what he does is that you know, these progressive platforms come across his desk, right? And then he pretty much nixes them and then comes back and says, I couldn't do it because of the Republicans, right? That's like the Democratic, like defensive, like just position, right? Like, well, I couldn't do this because the Republicans wouldn't let me do it. And that's why, you know, just generally speaking, socialism or any left-wing ideology is such a threat to them. Right, because it actually does challenge their relationships with their relation with capital. Right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm really, and Salem, I'm interested in this as well. Like, what you think? How do you balance being a avatar, I guess, for your community, while also not selling out in a neoliberal, and I hate the term woke capitalism, you know, or wokeness, but selling out. Like, how did you balance that?
Like, what do you mean, like specifically, like balance, like
Balance. I mean, without, I guess, advocating.
Internally, yeah. How did you feel like you were? Did you feel like you were being true to yourself when somebody says, "Don't say poor"? Are you saying it? Are you not saying it? Do you feel, how comfortable did you feel in your own skin doing this electoral thing where you know you're kind of like a go-between between power and people?
Exactly.
Yeah. How did you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you. Thank you.
So I don't know that there was. I'm trying to think of like how to say this. So okay, so while I was running, by far one of the best things about running is how many constituents you interact with. You know, hearing their thoughts, the things that they're facing, and just kind of getting a lot of insight in the district of which you're running. As far as, you know, being the go-between between the power and, you know, your people, I felt, honestly, I was more uncomfortable because of other Democrats that were politicians than I was anything else. They were one of the biggest obstacles. They were the ones trying to, like, meddle, so to speak. So, like, it was hard at times because I've talked about this. I don't know if you guys know about this, but, like, when I started running, like, literally the day before I announced, I started being, like, followed. And I had this happen throughout the entirety of my campaign, like strange SUVs staking out outside of my house, like following me around whenever I left. And it was like an ongoing thing. I would get strange, like random phone calls, like being somewhat or semi-threatening from like burner phones from Washington, shit like that. And I think the hardest thing was really dealing with like, because that's really surreal, like having that sort of stuff happen. And at first I was like really afraid because I was like, well, shit, should I like back off? Because this is kind of like, you know, weird. Like, this is not what I thought I signed up for. But as time went on, I just kind of like got used to it. You get used to there being like a lot of like toxic people in the party. And a lot of them just really like wanting to get in the way. And it seems like it's like a coordinated effort to make sure that they don't have people in positions of power who would accurately represent constituents. So I think the louder you are, like I was very loud about being pro people. And I feel like the more that they kind of act to keep you out of power, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question or not. But
it does. It does, because I think having that. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a Marxist or not, but sort of having that materialist perspective, right, and truly being for people and having that class solidarity. That's the most, and also being a marginalized person, that's the greatest threat. Right, that's the greatest threat, because as we were talking about before, if you can connect these two issues, right, with racial capitalism, right, or like queer capitalism, right, this idea of like exploiting people's identities, you know, to sell shit, right, and to sell an idea, not even just a product, and progress. I think that's the most threatening to the Democrats. And like I always say, man, like the Democratic Party has no conflict of theory unless you're to their left, right? Right, like how hard did they go, right? You know, he must not be named Bernie Sanders, right? How far did they go, right, to like tear this man down? They went harder to tear him down. I mean,
they're going on Trump right now.
Over 4 years, dude. You know, over 4 fucking years, and it's because, like, yeah, man, like they're in bed with the fucking Republicans. Like they need each other. It's a dialectical relationship.
Yeah, it's like a good cop, bad cop setup.
Exactly, right? Yeah. You got the sociopaths on one side and, like, you know, the feckless, like, weaklings on the other side. You know?
It also seems like there's kind of a conflict where, like, you know, we have this representative democracy, and over time, like, the representative part has become, like, the really, really, really big, bold word. And democracy just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And there's a lot of mechanical ways that we can fix that, but who your representative is also kind of matters in this regard, right? Like, you know, someone like you, Salem, you go out there, you talk to people in the community. If you were elected, you would be inviting people from the community to come talk to you while you're in office, right? Like a lot of the progressives behave that way that are in office, like the actual like people trying to get some shit done, you know,
Right.
they keep their door open and they say, hey, let's, you know, you need something in this community, I want to know, you know, that kind of attitude that gives a little bit of that democracy back without us even having to change a law, you know, implement anything. Like, it's not a big thing, it's not a huge step in some ways, but it is significant. And so like even that seems to have been like a big threat, I think, this cycle, where a lot of the Democrats that are in office, that have been in office for a long time, are used to not really being accountable to their constituents, not really having to like listen to anybody, just kind of getting to like exercise their own political will and sort of like, you know, go to parties and whatever. And like I think that just that kind of like the way that a lot of the people that like ran this cycle especially were kind of saying, we want to take the democracy back. We want to start making that part of it bigger again. We want to start like, you know, actually showing people that they're represented and that they can come to their congressman and like get some help if they need it.
Right.
I think that's like a big change that really kind of shook these people who are used to just being completely unaccountable. What do y'all think?
I have nothing to add. That's accurate.
Yeah, like I definitely agree. You can see it too, because like when I was running against Brendan Boyle, he shifted dramatically during the cycle to, for example, like a few months before the election, he changed his platform to focus on a Green New Deal, Medicare for all, like shit that I was running on. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I mean, if nothing else, that's a small win for the left by shifting the Overton window of the district. If you can move a corporate politician to even talk left, even if they're not. Mm-hmm. But like the biggest thing that I see that stands in the way of real progress taking place and real like authentic representation is the Democratic Party. Like I said, like I could win over several right-wingers before I could win over Democrats who were like, hey, get out of my party, like you don't match up with the rest of us. And I'm like, dude, I've been a Democrat for years, like I've been voting in primaries for years, and I know as somebody who's, you know, done organizing, that there is very little organizing done inside the Democratic Party that actually benefits communities and working class people. Yes. They're all built on getting their own people elected, and they have their own agendas, and they have their own little progressive organizations that carry that out. And I've noticed that most of the work that is actually for the community comes outside of the party, which has been something I've struggled with for months about whether or not to even stay in the party, because I'm not represented by the party I'm in.
Yeah. I've worked for the Democratic Party of two states, Georgia and in New York. There's a background in like electoral campaigns, canvassing and fundraising. And, you know, it's a guilty pleasure is the West Wing, right? And there's an episode where I think it's Josh Lyman. There's a flashback where he's sitting in the senator's office that he works for. He's an aide. And this is in the 90s, so it's pretty accurate. And Aaron Sorkin knows, like, at least like at the time, like, you know, what the Democratic Party was doing when it came to, you know, social benefits like Medicare, for example, right? And he's in this Democratic senator's office, and they're all having a discussion about how to cut Medicare. And after they leave the meeting, Josh says to the senator, he says, okay, so like when we win an election, who really wins, right? And that, as shitty as that show is, right, and the ideology of the show, that little like honesty that Sorkin kind of like put in there, right, that recognition was fascinating to me. And the Democratic Party, what I realized canvassing for them is that they are the greatest threat to any kind of emancipatory politics, whether you want to call it socialism, democratic socialism, because they manage the expectations of their electorate, right? Like they literally shape the expectations of their electorate. So people, you know, even if the majority of people agree that Medicare for all is needed, right, that a Green New Deal is needed, a living wage is needed, they don't think it's politically possible.
Yeah.
And because of that lack of organizing, you were saying, Salem, they don't realize that they themselves have the autonomy to get this shit passed, right?
Exactly.
And that's by design, right?
Mhm.
Exactly.
I actually really like that Salem brought up like sort of arguing with conservatives and how that can sometimes almost feel easier or more productive, because like this is actually something we talk about on this show a lot. A lot of people on the left have sort of taken the attitude of like there's no point in talking to like the conservatives, like they're crazy and like there's nothing there, and like yeah, obviously like their beliefs are nuts, but something we talk about on this show a lot is like sometimes it's easier to like actually have a productive conversation with somebody who at least politically agrees that things need to change, because the Democrats don't agree with that. And like we see that over and over again in like the shit that's going on with the Democrats, you know, right now. Like they don't agree with us that things need to change. Joe Biden's entire campaign has basically revolved around him. Like all of the other like almost the entire rest of the field of candidates are like, let's change America, let's fix something. And Biden's like, nah.
Man, this is the hot take, man. And like, yo, the Republican Party are better materialists than the Democratic Party, right? Because the Republican Party, they believe in heinous shit, right? All of us on this cast right now would be at risk, right? From a perfectly executed Republican platform, right? Which is like, you know, it's not even just arch conservative, it's proto-fascism, right? But they understand that there are material reasons for these problems. They just have different solutions. Like, it's not even about big government. They don't fucking believe in government. They want to hollow out the state and just make it a police military state, right? The material reasons for why people are in poverty is because of immigrants. It's because of black people, right? And so I think that the fact that the Democrats have this hollow ideology, it really worries me that senators like Josh Hawley, he's the youngest Republican senator, I forget from what state, but he's literally like, you know, talking from an anti-elitist perspective, but not anti-capitalist necessarily, right? It really is like, if you know anything about like the history of the Nazi Party, it really is like some Strausserism type shit. You know what I'm saying? It really is attacking elites, not because of the exploitation of the poor, but more because, well, big companies like, you know, Twitter and Facebook censor right-wing ideas, and it's all the East Coast East Coast, not even northern, but East Coast liberal elites, right, who are tearing America apart. And if the Democrats can't fill that void, that material void, then the Republicans are going to do it. And you're going to be seeing a lot of marginalized people vote for Republicans because at least they will be afforded some material change initially, seemingly, or even just even if it's just like a performative gesture, while the Democrats will be talking about what. And now I'm not giving the Republicans any credit. Like, clearly they know what they're doing, right? But it's just a conversation that the Democrats don't even want to have.
Right. No, I think you summed it up really well when you said that, like, you know, we would all suffer under like the system that these arch conservatives or these proto-fascists or just neo-fascists or whatever the fuck, I don't even care what you call them just, you know, Nazis for all I care.
I like that one. Yeah, we can call them Nazis.
Because like literally, like, it's, you know, their policies are completely like, you know, deplorable and all that. And there's definitely no justification for that. But when you talk about like trying to reach marginalized people, and we know that like the people that don't vote the most in America are marginalized folks, people who are like single moms, you know, black people who, you know, are just like, you know, living in really low income communities, like, you know, trans people that can't get their ID sorted out to vote. Like, you know, who's not voting in this country? And it's like, it's a lot of people who just don't have options. You know, they're too busy, they're too poor, they're too, you know, stressed to really like put that time in very easily. And you have to go out there and reach them and give them a reason to vote, right? And so if Trump, you know, or, you know, one of these Republicans comes to you and says, I know you're not making enough money, I know you're struggling in that way, then that, if you're that person who's struggling, that's more motivation than like the Democrats who have been like blocking raising minimum wage and stuff. You know what I mean? And like, you know, a lot of Democrats have been behind some. I mean, obviously there have been a lot of loud Republicans behind blocking minimum wage increases, but there have been almost an equal number of loud Democrats behind blocking that shit.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, I think that it's even more so than both parties are complicit in about who controls the narrative, right? Like Trump, I never forget like that ad that he had where, and his the relief, if you could call it the relief effort during the pandemic, is like, I mean, it's laughable, right? But he released an ad showing Nancy Pelosi opening up her fridge, like that it was an SNL, it was like that Colbert thing, or whatever, that late night clip, where she's opening up her fridge, showing like, this like, what is it, like a $2,000 fridge or some crazy shit like that, dude? Showing like ice cream, like a gourmet ice cream in her fridge. The Republicans are very, very good at taking things like that and manipulating them, and having that media network to do so, right? And making the Democrats look like, well, they are the ones that don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
It's so insidious. I mean,
it's very insidious. And they're really good at not showing off their own excess by comparison, right? Because like somebody like Mitt Romney is rich as hell, but he does a really good job of painting himself as just like, I'm just a guy. I'm just out here like the rest of you. I'm Mitt Romney. I'm just a normal, he tries to
learned from last time, right? He learned from fucking his run in 2012, right?
Yeah, he tried the elitism and it didn't work. But yeah, so like a lot of those Republicans like are really good at that shit. Whereas the Democrats over and over again, especially like the elites in Congress and those people, are really good at just being tone deaf as shit all the time, and like just being like, yes, I live the high life. What's wrong with that? And it's like your constituents are suffering. That's what's wrong with that. What the fuck do you not see about that?
And this is like a problem. This might be out of left field, but I'm gonna try to connect it. This is a problem that's like not even like unique to America. To use an example, so like obviously anti-Semitism in the UK has a long history, right? And I think his name is Keith Starmer. He is now, I guess, the head of the Labour Party, and a member of his party was accused of anti-Semitism through a tweet, right? Okay. And that's a very delicate thing to talk about and discuss, especially when it's a member of your own party. But instead of like admitting what was done wrong and then sort of also pointing the finger at the accusers, who are the supreme anti-Semites, right? Like people from like, the UK conservative UK media landscape, as well as like conservative politicians, right? He expels this person and denounces this person completely and says like, obviously anti-Semitism has no home in the Labour Party. And then the next fucking day or a couple days later, he's being challenged by like a columnist, or like I guess like a pundit, about his own like anti-Semitism within his party, right? So it's like, it's this, are you not even able to defend yourself, right? But you can't even point out an enemy, right? Like you can't even have a narrative of good versus evil, of these are the people who are harming you, and they get shot in the foot every time, and they get like, just fucking sideswiped by conservatives who are not well-intentioned, who are bad faith actors, right? And that's what happens when you don't fucking believe in anything, right? Yeah. When you don't believe in anything and you don't commit to any action, you don't have like an actual ideology, like you get steamrolled all the fucking time and get caught with your pants down, like they did in 2016. Like they're about to get in, I'm not even, maybe like they're gonna get in 2020. Like who the fuck knows, right? Like most likely, we don't know.
We'll see.
Sorry for that rant, y'all. Like that just
Yeah, that was on point.
Yeah. It's just, the whole situation is just really fucked up. And yeah, Ryan P here is chiming in. Bad faith actors don't give a fuck. Of course, that's one of the problems with this whole like back and forth that we have between the two parties, is that one of the parties just does not give a shit.
No, they don't play by the rules.
The Republicans don't play by any rules. They make up new rules all the time. They lie about what they believe in. Republicans are like the masters of constantly saying, oh, we believe in tight budgets and financial scrutiny, and then they're like passing like a military budget that's 100 times larger. And like it's like, well, where's the financial scrutiny there? And it just doesn't exist. And the Democrats, fall back, like just play right into that so often. And even people who I don't think Bernie Sanders is a bad faith actor. I think he's foolish for a lot of particular kinds of reasons that we could maybe get into. Maybe not today, because we'll probably wrap this up relatively soon, and that's a whole topic. But you know, like Bernie Sanders, I already called this out on stream recently, but I got to do it again because it's so crazy to me. He puts this tweet out recently where he says, let's cut 10% of the military budget and redirect it to social services. And everybody's like, yay! 10% of the military budget was added in like the last 8 years. What the fuck are you talking about?
Bro, it's over $1 trillion. Like, unless you're not cutting like 65% of that shit, you're not gonna make a dent in any of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not gonna make a dent in it. But then again, it's like Bernie is like, that's why, like, these discussions about electoralism in Salem, you were bringing this up, like, do I stay within the Democratic Party, right? These are conversations that we're really gonna have to start having, because the pandemic and the response from like the Democrats and their response to Trump is like, this party is wholly inadequate. Like, this party is not going to they're not gonna help us, man. They don't give a shit about us, right? So it really is a question of, like, what do you do when a political party is now just invalidated, right? Has become just completely obsolete, right? Like, what do we? Obviously, everyone has their own opinions about that, But it's man, it's bleak times, yo. It's very bleak.
It is, especially when you've got one party that wants to take things backwards and the other one that just doesn't want the other one to win. There's not really a path forward at all. Yeah.
You understand still.
Do y'all have any strong feelings about, like, there's definitely a lot of talk about like third parties and how can we make third parties viable? Is this like a reality that we can really hope for? Like, I think more so than like other election cycles in my lifetime, it seems like a lot of people are actually talking about this. It's like as like a more serious thing. It's not just like the diehard, like, sort of like anarcho hippies who are like, we're going to vote Green Party like we always do. Or things like that. It's like, there's a lot of people on Twitter who are like, I don't think I can vote for Joe Biden. What do I do? How do we make a third party viable? Do y'all have any feelings on that? Or do you think, are y'all still kind of on the boat of like, probably undermining the Democratic Party is the best way? Or is it like, is there a combination of methods that you think, like, I don't know. Wait.
Salem, you want to go? Sorry.
Salem, why don't you go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I'm not gonna tell you that I have a good answer, because I don't. My current thoughts on the matter. So I'm an odd Democrat. I've always been in favor of leftist third parties. I've never had any issues working with third parties. I've organized with members of the Green Party. I still do some work with people in PSL. And even Socialist Alternative, and I think all of them are fantastic people, and I obviously like a lot of their politicians and policies that they support far more than the Democratic Party that seems to like hold leftists hostage, so to speak. I'm honestly not sure. I've always thought that the biggest issue among the left was that we don't organize as well as some of the right do. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I think a third party would be viable, but like the left really has to get organized and get on the same page as to what we're all doing. Because divided, we're not going to do anything. It's going to continue to be Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah.
Aaron,
I'm back, baby. I had to do like some nerd stuff for like 10 minutes. I'm glad I was thinking that I'd come back and y'all would have all like dissipated.
No,
but I'm glad that we should still
really
One monkey don't stop the show. I love it.
Yeah. So I try to come at this from a structural perspective, like with regard to viable third parties, and our way of voting, first past the post, majority takes all, 50% plus one, makes it incredibly hard for third parties to even be a thing. I mean, at some point when you have a first past the post system, even if you start out with multiple parties, it will devolve into a two-party system because only one party can win, and the other equation of that is because we don't have proportional representation, right? I mean, another part of that is just the way that, like, the Congress is structured, right? I mean, these are real. I don't know if this is the exact answer. Well, this is my answer, right? But I think we have to think about these things because these are institutional barriers to making a viable third party. I know Fair Vote, that organization, they're trying to make a push for proportional representation. I think Maine has already voted on it. New York, I think, might have with regard to their city council. But besides that institutional discussion, right? Yeah, we do have to have some cohesive organizing, coalition building among the left, right? Like DSA especially, right? And organizations like DSA, the goal of that should be to build with other coalitions with specific interests who are already doing the work on the ground in their respective communities, right?
Yeah.
So it is really a two-part equation. It's like, well, how do you change a system that has never made it really possible for an alternative party with a possibly anti-capitalist message? How do you get that party to be viable and popular? And secondly, how do you create that party in the first place by bringing all these sort of disparate groups together, right? So that's like the idea of working within the Democratic Party. I know, DSA's founder, Michael Harrington, that's what he believed in, but we really have to ask ourselves, especially with crises like COVID and other crises. I mean, you even talk about climate change, thinking about that, right? It's like when there's millions and millions of dollars poured into congressional campaigns, right? Like what, and just the vast resources it takes to run a campaign. Are we going to be seeing candidates like that? Candidates that are actually backed by the people?
Yeah, I mean,
possible to undermine the Democratic Party? Yeah.
I think first of all, this is my very hot take. I think we came closer than people realize this time. Mm-hmm. If you look at like the numbers, we had like the under 40 demographic kind of on lock in those early states. The problem is like the older people also came out to vote like in force because they are like they've had their brain scrambled by MSNBC and they're hopped up on fear like the same way the right wing people are hopped up on fear. They don't know it, but they are. We need, I think, to get our message out to those people. And it might be a slightly different message because, and I talked about this with Rebecca Parson, if you've listened to the episode 100, like older people are not as materially invested in like class struggle. Like if you are 55 and you've got like your Medicare's coming in and stuff, your student loans, that's like a lifetime ago. Yeah. Like there's not a lot physically that can be given to you aside from like your social security payment, and they try to take that all the time. That will improve your material conditions as a working person because you're not working no more. So I think we need to, anybody, not we, because this ain't my project really, but anybody that feels like we've got to go through this shit electorally, they need to realize that if you want to do a working class election, a large chunk of your voters are not working people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, you got to think about what is the spiritual aspect of your message. What is the emotional aspect of your message? In the same way that like Joe Biden can go out and like wear a crisp suit and they have like the Ford truck guitar behind him. No, that's the president. No, Ford tough. Like and you might watch that and think that doesn't mean fucking anything. Well, that's what makes people vote. Shit that doesn't mean anything. Yeah. And we've got to have like, I think, an auxiliary arm of our messaging that is for people that are just into identity and that are just into culture and people that don't really give a shit about the real shit that's going on. That might be like anathema to people, but I feel like if that's your goal is to get 50% of voters, then there's a large chunk of voters that ain't about shit and you got to reach them too.
But Brandon, let me ask you a question because I think that's where the contradiction is, right? Is that the Democratic Party is based up of the professional managerial class who, because of their class privilege, are never going to go with I mean, they might go with the social democratic platform, we'll see, but we know those reforms will be repealed in like a couple of years, right? So tenuous relationship between the people who have a class interest, a specific class interest, and other people who don't even recognize themselves as a class of people.
Right. My hope, well, I don't have those answers.
Yeah, we know
that's not a question that I'm trying to solve. Like, I don't believe in like that an election is going to change things. I think time is going to happen. Yeah. Like life is going to happen.
Generation
in the
change.
same way,
We're saying,
in the same way that this Black Lives Matter shit radicalized people. Like this climate change is going to radicalize people. This healthcare situation is going to radicalize people. When the Supreme Court does some shit on abortion, that's going to radicalize people. So it's not like an accelerationist mindset exactly, because I mean we're trying to prevent harm as much as we can, but just like if this shit continues, shit's going to get worse. And when people have had enough, shit will change like that. And we'll be like, damn, we did all this work on the ground and people just saw this shit on TV and just decided enough of that. Yeah. So in 6 months ago, you didn't think the largest civil rights movement in history was just gonna fucking happen. Yeah. And maybe like 15 years ago, you didn't think, oh, gay marriage will be like the rule of the lay of the land in America. And it will be weird if you're not in support of gay marriage. If somebody told you that in like 2008, like 10 years ago, you'd be like, what the hell? No. Yeah, a bunch of people are getting evicted right now.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
And that's gonna, man, when people see that happening, because like in America, we're used to thinking of homelessness as something that happens to people who aren't like us.
Yeah.
And it's people who like are weirdos and have it coming.
Or it's like individualized, right? It's individualized.
Right.
Like it's your fucking fault, right?
And this shit is gonna happen at a scale, I think, that they're gonna know people they know are gonna be going through this. People they went to school with are gonna be going through this. Yeah. And it's gonna be at a scale that's so large, people are gonna be like, what the fuck? Yeah. I didn't know that there was, in the same way that like white people are like, I didn't know that police violence was like this. There's going to be like people of all races, like it's going to be black people that are going to be like, I didn't know homelessness was like this. And then the rest of us will be like, yeah, we tried to tell you for 15 years. We've been trying to tell you about war. We've been trying to tell you about. So they'll catch up and they'll be like, oh, we should fucking stop doing this shit. This is bad. And that consciousness is, we can just kind of ride that wave of history to an extent. Yeah. Yeah, politicians ain't doing shit about the because they are paid by the fucking. Not. All of this developers. Is from the developers. They own all the cities, so yeah, they're not gonna miss no payments, Zane. Like,
I wanted to go ahead, Sam.
I was gonna say, like, that's something that's actually not talked about a lot in politics that I feel like should be, is like the role that developers play in politics, because they're the ones that are gentrifying areas and pushing out low-income people, people of color, exasperating the homelessness issue, like, and their money is controlling the politicians that are allowing that to happen.
And they're the cause of police violence. We get here on stream every day and we talk about property developers and gentrification is why there is police violence. We talk about that shit all the time. Yes. So you are in the right spot because we are.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, like on the subject of people like being blamed for their like things that have happened to them. You see this all the time when people want to justify just like an inability to see a structural problem. And like I was arguing with somebody on the Albuquerque subreddit last week. And I was like, they were talking about like this person was like talking about like moving to Albuquerque from Asheville, which is actually like places where I've lived both these places. So I was like kind of weighing in this thread. And this person comes in and is like, Albuquerque's crime is terrible. You'll regret moving here. All this stuff that's just like typical conservative like smearing of our city that's been going on for a long time. Something I talk about on the show all the time. I was like, you know, anecdotally, the worst robbery I've ever experienced was in Asheville, North Carolina. I had thousands of dollars worth of music gear stolen from me. My music career never recovered. I don't make music to this day. Like it changed my life, and not in a great way, you know? This guy was like, oh, well, if you've been robbed more than once in your life, that sounds like a you problem. And it's just like immediately, as soon as I presented him with like a counter argument to like his arguments about what crime is and where it comes from and how it affects people, he's immediately like, well, this doesn't count because it's your fault. And like a lot of people just have that attitude towards this shit.
They have that attitude till they get stuck up.
Right. And then it's like, oh, yeah, it does happen to just everyone, huh? Yeah, it just happens. Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, man, that's like, again, like, I don't know, to round it up, like with the Democratic Party, like in their messaging, right? their performative messaging is very individual based, right? Like, what did they believe in? Was it quality of opportunity versus the quality of outcome? You know, we're not all saying that we want everybody to be sharing the same toothbrush and like wearing the same drab gray clothes. You know, we just literally want things to change systemically so that everybody has the basic necessities in life to do whatever the fuck it is that they want.
We don't want everybody to wear earth tones. We are not voting.
I
for
like
gay.
earth tones, bro.
We're
I
not
like
doing
earth tones.
any. I know.
But
Well,
it's cool though, you know.
not for everybody.
Back
That's
to
all I'm
Kanye.
saying.
Talk about earth tones. I want to wrap this up pretty soon, but this is some very important shit. Yeah, so we talked about Stephen Baca, the shooter who shot a protester here in Albuquerque at a tear down a statue protest. Stephen Baca literally ran for city council. He's the son of a sheriff, on a platform of eradicate the homeless. Like that was his platform. And so like now he's out there just shooting protesters because he didn't win his political election. Now he's just taking it to the next step.
Well,
I
that's
guess
what fascists do, right?
But,
they can't win elections, they resort to violence, you know.
So like that's the kind of shit that we're looking at right there. God, it's so fucked up. I want to wrap this up because we need to move on with our days and do other things. Before we go, I wanted to really quickly shout out somebody in my community who needs some mutual aid right now. Celinda Guerrero. I'm gonna post her Venmo. Y'all, when we talk about people organizing, doing the real shit, Celinda runs the Albuquerque Mutual Aid Network and has literally provided thousands and thousands of dollars to aid to people during COVID, in the form of food, clothes, medicine, all kinds of shit. And has just been running this mutual aid network out of her home, and she is now being evicted from that home. So if y'all are watching and you want to do something to like make yourself feel good today, give a buck to Celinda. She absolutely deserves it. And if she doesn't spend that dollar on her own housing, she's going to give it to somebody else that needs it. That's the kind of person she is. So what? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna mention something else, so we can do it at a later time. Well, actually, no, I'll do it now. Tiny.cc/SFQP is Southern Fried Queer Pride. They raised $50,000 to build a community center, and if you are from Atlanta, you know that like our community centers have like taken a big hit this year because of COVID. The bakery, which was like a very cool, hip art installation type place, they closed down this year. So they're trying to get a transgender owned community center up in the city. They've raised $50,000, which was their goal, but now they're trying to get extra for like accessibility and shit. We might talk about that more like in the future.
We will, for sure.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, they're also very cool. But I don't want to split the thing here. So you should also Celinda Guerrero.
Yeah. Oh, we just wanted to give some shout outs to some important things today
send 5 to both, whatever.
Going on in our communities. Shit's important. So anyway, before we go, Aaron, Salem, thank you both so much for joining us for this wonderful conversation today. This has been a blast with both of y'all. For sure. It's been really good. Aaron, do you want to like drop some plugs on everybody?
Yeah, plug some shit.
First, of course, obviously, I mean, people are listening, but please, like, you know, subscribe, like, check out Not Safe and Wonks. Really appreciate the work that you guys do here in the South.
Thank you.
I'm going to be a part of Black Independent Media Network, and I just want to plug that handle. They don't have any content yet, but they'll be launching in a couple weeks. It's Resistance. I'm going to just spell it out, and guess you guys can put it in the show notes. We
can put it. We'll put it on the screen or some shit.
Yeah. It's I'll put it in the chat too. It's at Resistance NWA. I'll spell that out. It's REZISTANS NWA. I think that's Resistance Noir, as in noir. I'm still not sure.
That's terrible. That's terrible, Brandon. We've had arguments about having bad. They need to.
Hey, you know us. We don't. It wasn't my decision, but what I can say is that I'm working with a lot of really really cool people that I have the opportunity of meeting, and I hope to like do great things with them. And and also Metro Atlanta DSA. Check out the Twitter feed. Check out what they're doing. And lastly, obviously, what people probably know me for is my Twitter handle, which is Posadas Trap God, and that's Posadas _Trap GD. So
Love it.
yeah.
Salem, what you got going on? Drop some plugs on everybody.
Oh man, the only plug I got for you right now is my Twitter, which is full of unsolicited, unhinged takes. But it's just it's actually still Salem for Congress, even though I'm not running for anything. But we'll keep it because I like the ring of it.
Number 4 too, Salem.
Yeah, the number 4 Congress. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, y'all check out Aaron, check out Salem. If you're hanging out on Twitter, you like hanging out with leftist people with good takes who will reply to you and say something funny. These folks right here.
This is the place to go, and like they gotta work on that spell because I can't even pronounce that. But however, I'm on a show that has the word "walk" in it, which is weird as hell anyway. So what am I to judge? And yeah, that sounds very dope. I want to be involved in at least the guest role, because that sounds very cool.
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today, and thank you everybody who's out there watching. It was great today. We love seeing all of you, reading all your comments, responding to that shit. We appreciate you as always. We will be back streaming Thursday and Friday at this same time, and then we're going to take some time off. We won't be doing our regular scheduled streams or regular scheduled podcasts because we've done a year and 100 episodes, and we're taking a small break. So we're 2 weeks, we're going to do a little bit of content, but just kind of casually.
Very little, yeah.
And so that'll be going on. But the next 2 days, if you love the streams, we got 2 more daily streams before that happens. We've also got episode 100 is out. It is 5-hour just feast of content. It is unlike anything we've ever created before. It features so many cool people. It was just a wild time to make, and it's a really fun thing to just go experience.
I listened to the whole thing last night, late last night. I was surprised at how well it flowed and how little of it was boring. There was maybe like one boring part, but the rest of it was all very good. So I'm very thrilled with how that
turned out. Check that out everywhere that podcasts are found: Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, etc. Just search "Not Safe for Wonks." You can also go to nsfwonks.podbean.com. Our editor worked their ass off on that episode. Shouts out to Ren.
By the way, we won't say did it with COVID. Did it with COVID at the end of the thing. It's very wild.
Yes, incredible shit.
Machine, the LeBron James of editing. Like,
and if y'all really appreciate all that shit, want to do something to help us out, patreon.com/notsafe. We have a lot of big plans for things that we want to do in the future, more on the ground journalism, touring, things of that nature. We can't do it without financial help. We are literally so poor. So patreon.com/notsafe.
Anyway.
And we'll see you next time.
We'll see y'all next time.
Oh, yeah. Later,
bye.